Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News, an Indian perspective on All India Radio. This is Tanvi Khurana and with me is Nipunika Shahid, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment and more. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Schloss Elmau, Germany on Sunday to attend G7 summit. 14th edition of BRICS summit concludes today, adopts declaration in support of talks between Russia and Ukraine. India to host G20 summit next year, appoints 5-member high-level committee for overall coordination. New Delhi dispatches 27 tons of emergency relief to earthquake-ravaged Afghanistan. US Senate passes landmark gun control bill after spate of gun-related incidents in the country. And FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup to be held in India from 11th of October to 30th of October. Sports Minister Anurag Thakur welcomes all 16 teams to India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Schloss Elmau, Germany on Sunday for the G7 summit at the invitation of Chancellor of Germany Olaf Scholz. Briefing media in New Delhi, Foreign Secretary Vinay Mohan Kwatra said, besides India, Germany has also invited Argentina, Indonesia, Senegal and South Africa to the summit. He said, during the visit, the Prime Minister will hold bilateral meetings with the leaders of G7 and guest countries on the sidelines of the summit. Mr. Kwatra said, on 27th of June, the Prime Minister is scheduled to participate in 2 sessions in the G7 summit. The first session relates to climate, energy and health, and the second session is on food security and gender equality.
At the invitation of German Chancellor Mr. Scholz, Honorable Prime Minister will be travelling to Schloss Elmau near Munich in Bavaria, South Germany this Sunday, that is 26th of June, actually the midnight of 25th of June, to participate in the G7 summit. Besides India, Germany has also invited Argentina, Indonesia, Senegal and South Africa. During the visit, Honorable Prime Minister will also hold bilateral meetings and discussions with the leaders of the G7 as also the guest countries on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Prime Minister is also scheduled to have an interaction with the Indian diaspora at a community event during his stay in Germany for the G7 summit. Prime Minister's last visit to Germany was for the 6th intergovernmental consultations held in Berlin on 2nd of May earlier this year. This was Prime Minister's 4th intergovernmental consultation and the first co-chaired with the new German Chancellor, Chancellor Scholz. The G7 summit has chosen 5 key priorities for the current year, and in broad terms these are 1. Energy transition, 2. Economic recovery and transformation, 3. Pandemic prevention and control, 4. Sustainable investments and infrastructure, and 5. Promotion of shared values of democracy. On the day of the summit, that is 27th of June, Prime Minister is scheduled to participate in 2 sessions along with other partner countries, the G7 summit. And the first one relates to climate, energy and health, and the second session is on food security and gender equality. India's regular participation at the G7 summits clearly points to increasing acceptance and recognition that India needs to be a part of any and every sustained effort to find solutions to solve the global challenges in particular which are being faced by the world.
The Foreign Secretary said Mr. Modi is scheduled to have interaction with the Indian diaspora at a community event in Germany. He said after attending the G7 summit, Prime Minister will be travelling to United Arab Emirates, UAE, on 28th of June to pay personal condolences on the passing away of Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the former UAE president and Abu Dhabi ruler. Mr. Kwatra said this will be Prime Minister's first meeting with Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan since his election as the new president of UAE and ruler of Abu Dhabi.
Prime Minister will be travelling to United Arab Emirates on 28th of June to pay personal condolences on the passing away of His Highness Sheikh Khalifa bin Zayed Al Nahyan, the former UAE President and Abu Dhabi ruler. This will be Prime Minister's first meeting at the same time with His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan since his election as the new President of the UAE and as the ruler of Abu Dhabi. Last visit of Prime Minister to UAE took place in August 2019, and the last visit of the President of UAE as the then Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi took place in January 2022 when he visited India as the chief guest at Republic Day celebrations of India on 26th of January that year. As is a common knowledge, both the leaders, that is current President of the UAE and the Prime Minister, have very regularly and continuously nurtured the comprehensive strategic partnership between India and the UAE over the past few years. During the virtual summit between the two in February this year, both countries also signed the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, which has since entered into force, and the first consignments under that CEPA agreement have started flowing from India to UAE and vice versa. India and UAE share very close and friendly relations whose foundations lay in our historical people-to-people contacts. Our vision for bilateral relations includes partnership in diverse areas, including trade, investment, energy, particularly renewable energy, food security, health, defense, skill development, education, culture, and people-to-people ties.
The 14th edition of Virtual BRICS Summit hosted by China came to a close with the Beijing Declaration. The declaration says that the BRICS countries support talks between Russia and Ukraine. They discussed concerns over the humanitarian situation in and around Ukraine and expressed support for United Nations, UN agencies and Red Cross to provide humanitarian assistance. The BRICS declaration also stated that terrorism should not be associated with any religion, nationality, civilization or ethnic group. The summit called for finalization and adoption of the Comprehensive Convention on International Terrorism within the UN framework. The member nations called for policy coordination for economic recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic. The BRICS countries agreed to promote consumer protection in e-commerce. They agreed to strengthen exchanges and cooperation in trade in services. The Beijing Declaration says that the BRICS high-level dialogue is an opportunity to deepen the cooperation on the fight against COVID-19, digital transformation, resilience and stability of industrial and supply chains and low-carbon development. Over the past 2 days, leaders of 5 BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa, discussed the state of diverse political, economic, cultural and humanitarian cooperation at the summit. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his virtual address, emphasized that mutual cooperation among BRICS member countries can make a useful contribution in the global post-COVID recovery. He said the side effects of the COVID pandemic may have come down, but its effects are still visible on the global economy. An extended virtual conference of BRICS foreign ministers with other emerging economies was also held yesterday, which was attended by the ministers from countries including the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Kazakhstan, Indonesia, Argentina, Nigeria, Senegal and Thailand.
Jammu and Kashmir will host the 2023 meetings of the G20, an influential group of the world's major economies. J&K government has set up a 5-member high-level committee for overall coordination of G20 meetings to be held in the Union territory. Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal was appointed as India's Sherpa for the G20 in September 2021. According to the Ministry of External Affairs, India will hold the G20 presidency from 1st of December 2022 and convene the first G20 Leaders Summit in 2023. India's representation at G20 summits have been led by Prime Minister Modi since 2014. The G20 countries include Argentina, Australia, Brazil, Canada, China, Germany, France, India, Indonesia, Italy, Japan, Mexico, Russia, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, South Korea, Turkey, the United States and the United Kingdom.
Indian Air Force is participating in Tactical Leadership Program at Egyptian Air Force Weapons School in Cairo West Air Base with 3 Su-30 MKI aircraft, 2 C-17 aircraft and 57 IAF personnel including C-17 contingent. The program, which began today, will continue up to 24th of next month. It is a unique exercise with air assets in a large force engagement environment, simulating various conflict scenarios. The exercise is aimed at enhancing defense cooperation between the two countries and exchange of best practices. In the present geopolitical scenario, this exercise provides a unique opportunity to showcase reach and capability of the Indian Air Force. It will also provide an opportunity to showcase the Su-30 MKI manufactured in India by HAL and India's expertise for deeper indigenization of spares and components.
Chemicals and Fertilizers Minister Mansukh Mandavia has stressed on the need to grow in the research and production sector and innovate in the development and manufacturing of green hydrogen. Addressing a two-day seminar in New Delhi today, Mr. Mandavia said only the government alone can't achieve the target of green energy. He said industries, academia, government synergy is very important to achieve the goal of National Hydrogen Mission. Mr. Mandavia said India has a huge geographical advantage in terms of varied weather systems and topographies of making the green energy mission true. He said, focusing on the futuristic planning, this year India is celebrating Amrit Kal and preparing a roadmap for the next 25 years to achieve this target. The minister said energy is a critical requirement of our country and the green hydrogen mission is a crucial part of it. He urged everyone to work towards making manufacturing of green hydrogen affordable and accessible not only to our country but to the world with a nation-first attitude. Mr. Mandavia said commitment and dedication towards the country is important for the development of the nation. Minister of State for Chemical and Fertilizers, Bhagwant Khubba, said, under the leadership of the Prime Minister, India has observed the proliferation and promotion of usage of non-fossil fuel. He said, National Hydrogen Mission aims to aid the government in meeting its climate targets and making India a green hydrogen hub.
First Bharat Gaurav tourist train connecting Ramayana circuit destinations in India and Nepal arrived in Nepal's Janakpur carrying 481 Indian tourists. This 14-coached 3 AC train started its journey from Delhi's Safdarjung railway station on June 21st, International Yoga Day. The train arrived at Nepali railway station of Jayanagar of Madhubani district of Bihar at 10:40 am this Thursday. The passengers were showered with flowers the moment train reached Nepali railway station of Jayanagar. Entire station premise resonated with chorus of Jai Shri Ram and Bharat Mata Ki Jai. A passenger on way to Janakpur expressed her feelings how this train would mitigate differences between two countries.
ये जो एक प्रयास है ये बाउंड्री की दूरियां, देशों की दूरियां तो मिटाएगा ही, दिलों की दूरियां भी मिटाएगा। हम सब यहाँ हैं, नॉर्थ इंडियन है, साउथ इंडियन है, कहते हैं हम नॉर्थ इंडियन से, मैं साउथ इंडियन, पर यहाँ हम सब आज देखा हम भारतीय हैं, एक दूसरे की भाषा को समझते हैं और श्री राम का गुणगान करते सब आए। हमने मलयालम में भी सुना, तमिल में भी सुना, पंजाबी में भी सुना, हिंदी में भी सुना। सब श्री राम के भक्त हैं और यही राम से प्रार्थना है कि राम के जीवन का कुछ आज हमारे बच्चों में आए, हम में आए।
Within duration of 40 minutes, the train got the customs clearance. At 11:20 am, the train arrived at Janakpur Dham railway station in Nepal. Chief Minister of Madhya Pradesh, Lal Babu Raut, Minister of Industry, Tourism and Forest of Madhya Pradesh, Shatrughan Mahato, Mayor of Janakpur Dham, Manoj Kumar Shah, General Manager of Nepal Railways, Niranjan Jha, Councillor of Embassy of India in Kathmandu, Prasanna Srivastava welcomed the passengers on board the train. After a night halt in Janakpur, tourists got to see Ram Janaki Temple and Vivaha Mandap of Ram Sita and other important tourist places in Janakpur. The Bharat Gaurav train has reached Sitamarhi today. From Sitamarhi, the train will move to Varanasi. Akashvani correspondent at Sitamarhi railway station interacted with tourists who informed of their exhilarating journey to Ayodhya, followed by visit to Janakpuri in Nepal and present stay in Sitamarhi to visit Devi Sita's birthplace.
इसमें अयोध्या घुमाया है, इसमें जनकपुरी घुमाया है, अब सीतामढ़ी आए हैं, अब सीतामढ़ी में घूमेंगे, बनारस रामेश्वरम जाएंगे,
सब जगह जाएंगे हम लोग, चारों दिशाओं में जाएंगे। बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है,
दर्शन करेंगे तब पता चलेगा।
अभी बहुत अच्छा माहौल है और जैसा राम भव्य मंदिर की बात कर रहे हैं वैसा ही यहाँ वही सिस्टम यहाँ भी है। अभी हम दर्शन करेंगे। सीतामढ़ी पहुँच के बहुत आनंद आ रहा है, जैसे हमें अयोध्या में आनंद आया था वही है सीतामढ़ी में आनंद आ रहा है।
जैसे अयोध्या में राम जी की चर्चा है, ऐसे सीतामढ़ी की चर्चा यूपी में है।
The Indian government launched this initiative of Bharat Gaurav train to connect all of the major locations associated with Lord Ram and Sita and created the Ramayan circuit. The train has capacity of 600 passengers. Presently, 481 passengers have boarded the train. On this train, there are 2 dedicated yoga coaches where instructor will be available to showcase various asanas to passengers. The Bharat Gaurav train operating in Ramayan Yatra circuit is coloured in tricolour. Virendra Kumar, CPRO East Central Railway, updates about this Bharat Gaurav train.
भारत की पहली भारत गौरव पर्यटक ट्रेन जो 21 जून को दिल्ली से 18 दिवसीय रामायण सर्किट में चलाई गई है। माननीय मंत्री द्वारा इसका उद्घाटन किया गया है। ये अभी आपको जनकपुर से लेके सीतामढ़ी के सर्किट में ईसीआर में भी है आज और कल, और इसमें 14 एसी कोचेस हैं जो कि एकदम आधुनिक और बेहतरीन सुविधाओं के साथ इन्हें बनाया गया ताकि जो इसमें पर्यटक रहेंगे उनको सुख सुविधा पूर्ण रूप से मिले और वो इसमें खुशी का आनंद करें, क्योंकि धार्मिक स्थल पे भी जा रहे हैं और ये पूरे 18 दिन तक ये जितने भी रामायण से जुड़े हुए जो स्थल हैं उनका ये दर्शन करेंगे और इससे टूरिज्म का बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ावा मिलेगा। और इसके कोच के आगे पे आप डिज़ाइंस में अगर गौर करेंगे तो ये भारत के विभिन्न संस्कृति त्योहार को दर्शाता है, ताकि ये बहुत सारे ऐसी चीज़ को दर्शाता है जो हमारे कल्चर को निखारते हुआ, ताकि इसका और लोगों में इसका जागरूकता फैलेगा और ये टूरिज्म के साथ साथ लोगों में एक सांस्कृतिक अनुभूति का महसूस होगा।
The train will move to other popular destinations such as Ayodhya, Nandigram, Varanasi, Prayagraj, Chitrakoot, Panchvati, Hampi, Rameshwaram and Bhadrachalam. This train will take 17 nights and 18 days to travel across Delhi, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, including crossing the international border to Janakpur in Nepal. The ticket of the entire trip costs a passenger Rs 62,370 only. During this trip, passengers will be accommodated in AC hotels. Along with serving vegetarian meal, IRCTC have taken care of security and travel insurance as well. Bharat Gaurav train in Ramayan circuit will not only promote religious tourism but will foster Indo-Nepal friendship to next level. This is All India Radio giving you the news. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter @AIR News Alerts.
The vertical launch short-range surface-to-air missile was successfully flight tested by the Defence Research and Development Organisation (DRDO) and the Indian Navy today. Missile was flight tested from a naval ship at Integrated Test Range at Chandipur in Odisha. A ship-borne weapon system is meant for neutralizing various aerial threats at close ranges, including sea-skimming targets. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has congratulated DRDO, Indian Navy and the industry for the successful flight test. He said the system has added an armour that will further enhance defence capability of Indian naval ships against aerial threats. Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral R. Hari Kumar appreciated the Indian Navy and DRDO for the successful flight test of the missile. He said the development of this indigenous missile system will further strengthen the defensive capabilities of the Indian Navy. DRDO Chairman Dr. G. Satish Reddy complimented the teams involved in the successful flight test. He said the test has proved the integration of indigenous weapon system on board Indian naval ships. India has dispatched 27 tons of emergency relief assistance in 2 flights for the people of Afghanistan in the wake of the tragic earthquake. The relief assistance consists of essential items including family-ridge tents, sleeping bags, blankets and sleeping mats. The relief consignment will be handed over to the United Nations Office for Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs and Afghan Red Crescent Society in Kabul. The External Affairs Minister said, as always, India stands in solidarity with the people of Afghanistan with whom it shares centuries-old ties and remains firmly committed to provide immediate relief assistance for the Afghan people.
In Afghanistan, authorities have ended the search for survivors after an 6.1 magnitude earthquake hit Paktika and coast provinces last Wednesday. A senior official told a news agency around 10,000 houses were partially or completely destroyed in Wednesday's earthquake in a remote part of the country. In the meantime, Afghanistan government said that the death toll following Wednesday's devastating earthquake in Paktika and coast provinces has risen to about 1,100 and the number of injured has risen to 1,600. Prime Minister Narendra Modi said India stands by the people of Afghanistan in their difficult times and is ready to provide all possible disaster relief material at the earliest. India yesterday sent humanitarian aid to the people of Afghanistan. United Nations World Food Programme has also sent food and logistics equipment to support earthquake-ravaged country. The European Parliament has voted overwhelmingly to grant European Union candidate status to Ukraine and Moldova. European Council President Charles Michel made the announcement after discussions among leaders of the EU's 27 member states. The vote was 529-45 with 14 abstentions. The European Parliament also approved EU candidacy for Georgia. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that this was a historic moment in Ukraine-EU relations and Ukraine's future is within the EU. Moldovan President Maya Sandu tweeted that the decision was a strong signal of support for Moldova and our citizens. In order to join the 27-member EU bloc, the three countries will be required to carry out a series of political and economic reforms. However, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said she was convinced that Ukraine and Moldova would move as swiftly as possible to implement necessary reforms. The European Council, which comprises the heads of all 27 EU governments, would have the final vote on Ukraine's membership. The vote came as the US said it was sending $450 million more on military aid to Ukraine, including some additional medium-range rocket systems.
In the United States, the Senate has passed a gun control bill, which is being considered the most significant firearms legislation in nearly 30 years. 15 Republicans joined Democrats in the upper house of Congress to approve the measure by 65 votes to 33. The bill will have to be passed in the House of Representatives. The bill is also significant because it is the first time in decades that proposed reforms have received this level of support from both Democrats and Republicans. It follows mass shootings last month at the supermarket in Buffalo, New York, and a primary school in Uvalde, Texas, that left a combined 31 people dead. Meanwhile, the National Rifle Association (NRA) has opposed the bill and argued that it will not stop the violence. US President Joe Biden earlier this month said that proposals were steps in the right direction but are still not enough. In Pakistan, the central bank has asked its employees to work from home 2 days a week as the country looks to conserve fuel and ensure that it does not run out of dollars. In a Twitter message yesterday, State Bank of Pakistan told its staff to opt for virtual meetings, carpooling, and cutting down on air conditioning. The bank further said that it also helped suspended the purchase of fixtures and furniture. Local media reports that Pakistan's government has already ordered shopping malls and factories to shut early in various cities including Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad and Rawalpindi and cut the working week by a day. Pakistan's federal government has increased pump prices by as much as 83% in less than a month as it tried to curb subsidies. However, according to Pakistan Bureau of Statistics data in July-May, its total petroleum import bill increased by 99%.
Today is International Day of Women in Diplomacy. The aim for the day is to promote full and equal participation of women at all levels of diplomacy. The day is being observed across the globe for the first time after the adoption of a resolution in the United Nations General Assembly on Monday, the 20th of June this year, to designate June 24 of each year as the International Day of Women in Diplomacy. President of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly, Abdullah Shahid, who presided over the adoption of the resolution, said, "Now a day is specifically devoted to celebrating women in diplomacy who have blazed trails, negotiated peace, strengthened international relations, survived hardships and danger, and have facilitated intercultural linkages." The International Day of Women in Diplomacy resolution garnered historic support at the United Nations General Assembly and was co-sponsored by 191 member states, of which 85 member states were main sponsors of the text. And now, a report from the business world.
Sensex at the Bombay Stock Exchange climbed 462 points, a 0.88% to finish at 52,728. Nifty at the National Stock Exchange added 142 points, a 0.92% to settle at 15,699. At the global stock markets, Asian stocks rose following gains in the US stocks. South Korea's Kospi surged 2.3%, then Hong Kong's Hang Seng Index climbed 2.1%. Japan's Nikkei 225 gained 1.2%. China's Shanghai Composite Index added 0.9%, while Singapore Straits Times Index ended 0.6% up. European share markets were also trading up in intraday trade. Oil prices rose more than 1.5%, supported by tight supply, although crude was heading for a second weekly fall in concerns that rising interest rates could push the world economy into recession. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $111.90 per barrel. And in the foreign exchange market, the rupee weakened by 3 paise against the US dollar. The domestic currency was trading at 78 rupees and 34 paise against the American unit. Arjun Chaudhary for World News All India Radio.
Youth Affairs and Sports Minister Anurag Thakur said it is a matter of great pride and responsibility for India to host its first ever FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup. In a video message today, Mr. Thakur welcomed all 16 teams to India, saying that this is a special tournament for women sport in our country. He said this event will inspire more young people to make sports a gender-inclusive playing field.
To all these teams, I welcome you all to our beautiful and vibrant nation. May you mesmerize the audience when you come to India. This is a special tournament for women's sport in our country, as we firmly believe this event will inspire more young women to make sports a gender-inclusive playing field. Looking forward to your visit and looking forward to welcoming you all.
FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup is scheduled to be held in India from 11th of October to 30th of October of this year. India has been placed in Group A with USA, Morocco and Brazil. India's first match will be against the USA on 11th of October, which will be played at Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar, Odisha. The matches will be played at Kalinga Stadium in Odisha, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium in Goa and D.Y. Patil Stadium in Navi Mumbai. Final of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup will be played in Navi Mumbai on 30th of October.
With just over a month to go for the Commonwealth Games 2022, an 18-member Indian women's hockey team for the quadrennial event was announced by Hockey India today. In the absence of veteran Rani Rampal, goalkeeper Savita Punia will continue to be the captain. Defender Deep Grace Ika will be her deputy. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Guardian reports United States move to ban abortion after Supreme Court overturns Roe vs. Wade. The Washington Post also highlights story on abortion rights crowd at Supreme Court explodes with outrage. Joy as Roe v. Wade falls. The Wall Street Journal highlights rising prices of gasoline writes future prices have outpaced crude oil in the second quarter. The New York Times carried a story with the photograph of Ukraine's children playing in Park of Warsaw. Paper says in Warsaw parks, Ukraine's teen refugees hang out and hang on. Voice of America reports that Ukraine tops agenda at China's BRICS summit. The Globe and Mail writes Ukraine signals withdrawal from Russian forces closing.
A quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Schloss Elmau, Germany on Sunday to attend G7 summit. 14th edition of BRICS summit concludes today. Adopts declaration in support of talks between Russia and Ukraine. India to host G20 summit next year. Appoints 5-member high-level committee for overall coordination. New Delhi dispatches 27 tons of emergency relief to earthquake-ravaged Afghanistan. US Senate passes landmark gun control bill after spate of gun-related incidents in the country. And FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup to be held in India from 11th of October to 30th of October.
And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favourite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Germany.
Vaishnavajanata tene kahiye je pir parai
with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.